Now, many of you already know that from the 1st to the 13th of August, NIO has, of course, sold around or roughly around 7,000 vehicles. And this information, we got it from the NEV Insurance Registrations report. We got this past Tuesday. Now, you will know that, of course, that report showed or was showing us that for last week, NIO managed to sell around 3,300 or so. Total NEV insurance registrations of around 3,300. Now, one of the questions that is in many people's minds right now is if whether NIO will beat the kind of deliveries they reported back in July. As most of you already know that in July, NIO reported over 20,400, which was not only record-breaking deliveries, but the kind of deliveries that so many of the new investors have been patiently waiting for. Now, as I've said, that report, ladies and gents, or after the figures we saw on Tuesday, NIO is still left with over 2.5 weeks to conclude their deliveries for August, and chances are very high that we are going to see NIO, of course, doing even much better or more deliveries than the deliveries they reported back in July. And I say this because ever since we've been seeing this NEV Insurance Registrations report being published every Tuesday, we tend to see NIO doing well in the last 2 weeks, which means that from this week we are in going to, of course, the last week or the last days of August, NIO, chances are, will be selling as many cars as possible, trying to obviously beat those 20,400 or over 20,400 we saw on July. Now, one of the good things that, of course, made us to be really excited this week was when we saw, of course, Bank of America coming out and say, wait, hold on, we still think, or they still think, that NIO will deliver vehicles of between 20 and 21,000 even for the month of August. In fact, they are saying even for September we are going to see NIO continuing delivering over 20,000 vehicles, which it is something that is so great, regardless of course, the share price drop that we witnessed. I think NIO this week dropped or fell by almost 18%, which is something that, of course, shows you that regardless of the kind of performance that we've been seeing recently on NIO, the share price of NIO continues dropping, making some of the investors to probably throw in the towel and think that NIO is probably finished. And you will know that, especially with yesterday's sharp falls, it was caused by the Evergrande situation filing for bankruptcy in the US, which of course made or resulted in most of the Chinese stocks to fall sharply. Now, with that, some of the investors or retail investors came and said that NIO is dead or it's gone due to that Evergrande situation. But one of the things that I think as investors we must know, yes, the Evergrande might be a Chinese stock or Chinese company, but NIO, or ladies and gents, when comparing to Evergrande, you will notice that NIO is doing very well. And there's no way that we'll see NIO filing for bankruptcy, because, ladies and gents, NIO, they've got tons of cash in hand, and of course they are doing so well in terms of course, deliveries, which is why I just now I was just telling you that we know that in July they reported over 20,000 vehicles, and chances are very high that they will also crash the kind of deliveries they reported, or those over 20,400 deliveries they reported in July now in August, which is something that, ladies and gents, has to make you see the potential that lies within the NIO stock. I mean, if so many analysts have came out and said that they are reiterating their buy ratings, increasing their price targets onto NIO, because they believe that what we are seeing now, or these over 20,000 vehicles we are seeing now, it might just be the beginning, because in Q4 so many of the analysts see NIO even increasing their deliveries from these 20,000, meaning that in Q4 chances are high that we might see NIO reporting or delivering over 30,000 vehicles on a month to month, which will be so amazing to see NIO achieve that. Otherwise, before we dig deep or I forget the house rules, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video. And I really appreciate if you can just hit the likes button if you are enjoying the content that I'm giving you about NIO, ladies and gents, being left with 13,000 to reach to their 20,000 delivery target, and of which, looking at the fact that they are still deliveries or sales in these last 2.5 weeks to be counted in as part of the August deliveries, I personally believe that we are easily going to see NIO thrashing their record or their monthly delivery record for July now in August, because they still have more time. And as I've said, towards the end of the month, each and every month, we see NIO delivering more and more vehicles, which makes me to remain long and strong onto this NIO stock. So if you enjoy this content, hit the like button, as it also helps with YouTube's algorithm. So yes, without wasting any more of your time, 13,000 it is what is left for NIO to obviously report, so that they at least get to 20,000, which, like I said, I believe that not only are they going to, of course, report over 20,000 vehicles even for August, but chances are very high that they will thrash the kind of record they, of course, produced for July. One of the things that, of course, with analysts that we've been saying, when they make their prediction on NIO, they try to play it safe, which is what we saw Morgan Stanley, if you remember, on the July deliveries, or when they were predicting the July deliveries, they had said that they are saying 15,000 deliveries for July, which we saw, of course, NIO reporting over 20,000 vehicles. It is for these same reasons that I believe that even this 20 to 21,000 that Bank of America came out and predict or issued a statement about this week might be thrashed by NIO, looking at the kind or the number of days that NIO still got in their pocket to deliver and try to catch the kind of deliveries they reported in July. So I personally believe that 13,000 NIO will easily thrash that, and the chances are we might see NIO delivering maybe not 25,000 deliveries, but rather over 21,000 vehicles. I personally believe that it is possible for NIO to achieve, because there are still this week's NAV insurance registrations, which we are going to get the report on Tuesday. There is still next week deliveries, and the other week, I think until on Thursday. In the next 2 weeks, on Friday, we'll be getting, of course, the August deliveries, and those are the deliveries which I believe that NIO is going to report over 21,000 vehicles. I personally believe that those that are panicking to sell or panic selling due to the sharp falls that we've been witnessing on the NIO stock, once again, after or at the announcement of those probably deliveries or monthly deliveries, even the NAV insurance registrations, they might come back once again and buy the NIO stock, because they will now see that it was not a once-off where we saw NIO reporting or delivering over 20,000 vehicles in July, but it is a new thing, or it is a trend that NIO is currently setting, and they are not planning to go back to those 10,000 deliveries they once delivered most of the month in the first half of this year. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick update, and as I've said, I believe that 13,000 won't be a problem for NIO, looking at the fact that from the 1st to the 13th of August, NIO had only sold around 7,000 vehicles. So 13,000 to make it 20 won't be, of course, a high mountain to climb for NIO. They will easily make that, and the only thing that maybe you might want to think about is if whether they will break their July deliveries, which as I'm saying, or as I'm predicting, I personally believe that we'll see NIO thrashing the deliveries or the delivery record they reported in July. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.